Amelia Island here at the Ritz-Carlton. It was the ACC Spring Meetings. I'm Ariya, Massoudi, Curt, Weiler here for the Osceola. Bob Ferranti also here on the other side of the camera, but I promise you he is hard at work. We are bringing you this coverage, and there are no shortages of topics to talk about. We were going to talk about revenue streams, conference realignment, NIL, scheduling, NCAA Tournament. I mean, the list goes on and on. Football, basketball, women's basketball. Curt, the last couple of days have been interesting. Today it came to a peak.
Yeah, I think it's been a productive few days for especially the ACC administrators. I think all the coaches I know things they had accomplished. We haven't heard exactly what it is yet, but the football coaches and administrators all came to agreement on a tiebreaker because we're going to be in a single division now. But obviously revenue and the state of the ACC, the future of the ACC was a big part of this, and it was a productive few days where they don't quite have the new revenue sharing model in place as they leave Amelia here tomorrow. I know that's going to take, I think, some boards of directors and presidents signing off on it, but it sounds like it's close, and it sounds like it's a model that's going to reward on-field success, which I have to imagine is music to the ears of a lot of Florida State fans.
Yeah, and there are some projections that may be up to $10 million, depending on how you do in postseason and reward-based performances, as Curt just mentioned. Michael Alford, though, very confident that he got some things done here. Him, Radakovich from Miami, of course, Neff from Clemson. Those three have been together working real hard on trying to make sure that the big brands of the ACC, get their due diligence and get their share. Curt, how do you feel like this thing is shaking out as we enter the final day of spring meetings tomorrow?
It's shaken out. It's shaken out well for the ACC. You wondered what the unity of this group was going to be coming in. When 3 months ago Michael Alford kind of put the ACC on blast a little bit about, it felt like he was putting the conference's feet to the fire a bit of saying some things need to change, and that seems like the work he did ahead of time is paying off because, like you said, I think we're getting that revenue share model. It's going to be announced, I think, in the near future, and can be a somewhat significant difference. Maybe not totally make up the gap between the Big Ten and the SEC. That sounds like $10 million isn't the difference, or isn't going to be the difference long term, but every little bit that cuts into it definitely helps matters for Florida State, and maybe not what Florida State fans watching this want to hear, but it sounds like, I think Florida State is locked in with the ACC, at least for now. I know Michael Alford talking about after the Magnificent Seven stuff the other day about that broke kind of Monday right as they were starting here in Amelia, about the 7 schools who've kind of explored the future of the conference, and it would appear that, at least for now, Michael Alford saying in the meetings that he can see a future in the ACC long term. They talked about, the ACC wins the most championships and plenty of things about that and how prestigious a conference it is, that if they can be more competitive financially, I think he can see a future in the conference.
I love that he kept mentioning CEOs instead of athletic directors, and that's just the way he views it. It's a business, and he is one of the best in the country at doing his job and doing it well. All right, let's talk some football in terms of on-field. Of course, everybody excited that Destyn Hill is now a Seminole, is in the fold officially. Mike Norvell saying some really cool things about the wide receiver and what he adds to that unit.
Yeah, he's talked about, Bob, you can read the story. Bob talked to his high school coach at Edna Carr, Bryce Brown, and I know Mike's Coach Norvell's talked to him quite a bit as well, just about, what he's been doing when he's been unable to enroll, obviously delayed, 2 years enrollment nearly. I think he was supposed to arrive summer 2021. He's finally arriving summer 2023, but it seems like a better late than never situation. I know, if you read Bob's story, Destin's been hard at work even when he hasn't been able to be here, and now that he's here and able to hit the ground running, Mike seems excited to see what he can bring on the field, how quickly he might be able to contribute.
Another thing that was pretty interesting, too, was Mike Norvell talking about NIL legislation from a federal standpoint, because it is so different state to state and what's going on in those governments. That was fascinating to me as well today.
Yeah, I think there was some candid conversations with the football coaches about what can they do about the state of the transfer portal, what can they do about the state of tampering, what can they do about NIL. The thing with NIL that came up again today, states still have some differing rules, and Mike, I know, brought that up. I think he said there might be as many as 30 different rule sets that kind of the different states are working from, and that makes things a bit complicated, no doubt. But yeah, I think anytime, I think he had to enjoy making the trip back, coming off that 2020 season, being around the ACC coaches a little more this time, kind of being, Dabo Swinney from Clemson was not here, so he was kind of, you could make the case maybe the top dog of that group.
Yeah, a lot of excitement for Florida State football. Lastly, we got to touch on some hoops. Coach Hamilton here, and well-respected as well. The biggest thing from him, he talked a little bit about the team that's upcoming and some of the transfers he added, but it was doubling the NCAA tournament format, 136 teams perhaps. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think it was 128, 136, somewhere in there. I think his thought process on that, I know some people might kind of scream when they hear that, or it might be a shock to the system, because it is shocking. His thought was kind of talking about it is, A, you're only adding one more round of games. You're just adding a seventh game. It's like you may be doubling the field and you're doubling the number of games, but you're not. It's not some huge addition to how grueling that schedule can be. I think he's also talked about pretty candidly. Obviously the ACC's been maybe down in reputation the last few years, and how hard scheduling can be. That kind of people are encouraging you to schedule harder, and that plays a role in maybe if you're making that field of 64 or 68 or not. And he kind of says, well, when we're scheduling out so far in advance, it's hard to know these things. And that, the field of 128, which he talked about, FAU and San Diego State making the Final Four this year. Even Miami making the Final Four. Parity in college basketball is as high as it's ever been. And so that field of 128, only adds to the number of teams that are going to be rewarded. He's been on that for a while, I know. That's not a new take by Leonard Hamilton.
Totally. And you know what? The new team that he's got put together, a couple of transfers, he said we're going to try and add one more in the portal. So I would keep an eye out on that. He's excited about Bowen coming in, the freshman, top 100 recruit. That should be very exciting. But Coach Hamilton and his staff feel like they've done what it takes. They build the chemistry. They get some guys healthy again. Baba Miller comes back into the fold, and the Noles are going to push for the NCAA tournament. All right, I think that's it for today. We're going to wrap up here with the beautiful beach behind us, Fernandina Beach, here at the Ritz-Carlton. Curt Weiler, Bob Ferranti behind the camera. I'm Ariya Massoudi for the Osceola. Keep it locked in. We'll be here tomorrow as well. Thanks for watching.